In the quiet, unsuspecting town of Willowbrook, where the streets were lined with maple trees and the scent of fresh bread filled the air every morning, lived a detective named Samuel Blake. Blake was a figure of quiet authority, possessing sharp eyes and a mind as intricate as a labyrinth. He kept to himself most of the time, living in a modest cottage on Elm Street, but there wasn't a crime in Willowbrook he hadn't solved. His reputation extended well beyond the small town, and rightly so. Blake had an innate knack for uncovering the truth, no matter how well it was concealed. But there was one case that would test his skills like no other. It all began on a misty autumn morning. The leaves had turned shades of gold and crimson, and a chill hung in the air. Blake was sipping his morning coffee, deep in the middle of the daily newspaper, when there came a knock on his door. Expecting a routine inquiry from a neighbor or perhaps a request from the local police chief, he opened the door and was startled to find himself face to face with a man drenched in sweat, his eyes wide with panic. "Detective Blake, you must help me," the man pleaded. "My name is Jonathan Kane. My daughter, Lily, she's missing." His voice wavered, betraying his fear. Blake's heart sank momentarily. A child gone missing in a town like Willowbrook? It was extraordinary, unheard of. Without delay, he invited Jonathan inside and began to gather information. According to Jonathan, Lily had disappeared the previous evening. She was last seen playing near the old Whitaker estate, a place shrouded in mystery and rumors of a haunting ever since the Whitaker family vanished decades ago. With a firm nod, Blake assured Jonathan he would find Lily and set out immediately to investigate. The Whitaker estate was a grandiose mansion, albeit decrepit with age and neglect. Its once majestic facade now looked forlorn, the windows dark and soulless like empty eye sockets. The garden, where Lily was last seen, was overgrown with tangled vines and wilted flowers. Blake scanned the area meticulously. He found a child's toy near the edge of the garden, a small, stuffed bunny, its fur matted with damp. Blake mused aloud. Pocketing the toy, he moved to examine the estate itself. Inside, the mansion was just as eerie. Dust-coated furniture stood like silent sentinels, and cobwebs adorned every corner. The air was thick, stifling, and a faint mildew smell lingered. Blake focused on finding any signs of recent activity. In the study, he found a piece of fabric, caught in the edge of a broken chair, with a distinctive pattern. It matched the description of the dress Lily was last seen wearing. Blake's detective instincts told him to venture further. He descended into the basement, which was notoriously known for its hidden passageways. A gust of wind blew from one such passage, indicating it led somewhere beyond the confines of the estate. Blake followed the gust, his footsteps muffled by the damp earth. After what seemed like an eternity in the winding passage, he emerged into a clearing in the woods. To his astonishment, there stood an old cabin, half hidden by the encroaching forest. Smoke curled from its chimney, suggesting recent occupancy. Blake's pulse quickened as he approached cautiously. Inside the cabin, the air was warmer, lit by the glow of a crackling fire. Blake's eyes quickly adjusted to the dim light, and there, in the corner, sat Lily. She looked unharmed but frightened. Before Blake could move, a figure stepped into view from the shadows. The voice was smooth, almost amused. Blake recognized the man instantly, Martin Caldwell, a former resident of Willowbrook until he was driven out due to his unlawful activities. Martin had always held a grudge against the town and saw an opportunity for revenge through kidnapping. But he hadn't counted on Detective Blake's prowess. "Step away from her, Caldwell," Blake commanded, his voice firm, rising above the crackling fire and the low growl of the wind outside. Martin smirked, reaching slowly into his pocket. Blake's eyes never left him, anticipating his move. In an instant, Martin lunged, but Blake was quicker. With a deft move, he disarmed Martin and pinned him to the ground. "It's over," Blake declared, securing Martin and ensuring Lily was safe. The relief on her face was palpable as he guided her out of the cabin and back to the safety of her father's arms in town. With Martin Caldwell under arrest and Lily reunited with her family, peace was restored to Willowbrook. The townspeople breathed a collective sigh of relief, their trust in Detective Blake reaffirmed. Yet, in the back of his mind, Blake knew that shadows lurked in the most unexpected places, and his work was never truly done. The case of the missing girl had tested his skills, but it had also reminded him of the vital importance of vigilance in a world full of hidden dangers. Willowbrook returned to its tranquil routine, but its residents would always remember the autumn day Detective Samuel Blake took on shadows and mystery to bring a cherished child back home.